favorite intro.
You wanted video game reviews, well you got it, baby. Now is that time in the show where we bring you a video game review with a segment I like to call Video Game Review.
I mean, she's so clever.
She is.
Coming up with those names. I mean, that's why we pay her the big bucks.
This is what I think you wanted to talk about. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So
this is a big announcement, dude. I saw this. I was like, holy Morocco's, Batman.
Right? And that is awesome for me.
So for the people that are listening to the podcast, please explain what I put on the screen. And I will drink this drink and make a horrible face. They can't see.
Xbox spent $7.5 billion to buy ZeniMax. That's the mother company of Bethesda, which Bethesda put out some of my favorite video games that I've ever played, like Fallout, there's Doom, there's Wolfenstein, and oh my gosh, there's Dishonored. Like, it goes on. Like, ZeniMax has like 7 different studios, and they're all around the world. And for me, like this, they also employ, I think, like 2,300 people. So think about how many people.
This is huge. And I was going to say, Wolfenstein wasn't actually part of their portfolio to start with. Wolfenstein was made by another company, because I used to play Wolfenstein all the time when I was a kid. But they got bought. Yes, id. Yeah. id Software. Yep.
So ZeniMax bought id.
Exactly.
And that's just how it goes.
No. So for people that don't know game history, the very first game that got put out that was considered a first-person shooter was Wolfenstein. Then it was followed up by Doom, both put out by id Software, and they're both considered to be masterpieces, I guess is the best way to say it.
100%. They're just still played today.
Yeah, absolutely. And in competition, too. Lots of competitors will play them. And then after that came Quake. So it was like a 1, 2, 3 combo, because no other company really had any first-person shooter games out, and now they have 3. And I was watching... have you ever seen speedruns, by the way?
Video games?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So for anybody in the audience, a speedrun is how fast can you get from the beginning to the end? There's no, and again, there's different categories. So how far can you get from the beginning to the end, not shooting anybody? How fast can you get from the beginning to the end, shooting every character, blah, blah, blah. I was watching a Doom run, and they basically beat a 20-year-old speed run, and it was literally pure unadulterated luck, because the way that Doom is set up, lots of random stuff happens. But Doom's crazy. It is. So so that's the history. It gets bought out by the studio that you
ZeniMax.
said. Yes. And they're part of the Bethesda. The entire company is called Bethesda. Yeah. Dude, I saw this. My head almost exploded. That is such an amazing
Microsoft
thing.
Owns like something upwards of like 23 different studios right now.
That's insane.
And they're putting it out. So if you have Game Pass like I do, for me, it's fantastic, because now the day that they announced the big merger and the buyout, they dropped like 20 Bethesda games into the Game Pass that I don't have to buy anymore. I can just download for free.
Well, it's funny that you should say that, because I literally just got rid of Luna. So I had Stadia, which is Google's basically. Okay, so gaming has evolved to the point now where you don't actually need to own a console in any way, shape, or form if you really don't want to. So Google Stadia is Google's version of cloud gaming. And then Luna is Amazon's version of cloud gaming. I hated both of them. And it's a combination of 2 reasons. One, I'm old and I suck at games now. But the main thing is that I couldn't find a game that I didn't hate. Every game that I got, or every game that I was playing, I was like, I don't like this game. This isn't fun for me. You know what I mean? And I think what it comes down to is that I'm not really a gamer anymore. Like I was when I was, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 years ago probably. But the games that I'm playing, I wasn't enjoying any of them One of my favorite games on PlayStation, I think is a PlayStation 2 game, is Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. And I like the game mechanic because you were able to rewind time and redo stuff over and over and over again. I also like Mortal Kombat style games and things like that. And honestly, the new first-person shooter games like Fortnite, I'm horrible at Fortnite. Like, I just am horrible at Fortnite. And
because
again,
Fortnite is geared towards kids. It's not geared towards you.
Right, that's true.
You need to pick up a Bethesda game like Fallout and actually become that character. Yeah.
Right. And then play it right straight through. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I've wanted to get for a long time is I want to get back to whatchamacallit. I want to get back to laser gun games. When I was a kid, laser gun games were big. So on CRT televisions, they had figured out some technology that you could point a gun at the screen and it could figure out how to do a game mechanic. And my next major investment, I think, as far as gaming goes, is a Quest 2, Oculus Quest 2.
Okay.
Because I don't know, have you seen the games in Oculus Quest by any chance? Or Oculus Quest 2, I should say. I
follow a couple of people that just do that on TikTok.
Yeah.
So yeah.
They're like a whole new, like it's, I guess what it is for me, it's the evolution of gaming. Now, I don't think I'm going to play any of the Dance Dance Revolution style games, which are the...
Oh, come on.
Saber games. Sorry about that, everybody. What's the name of that game? It's Beat Saber. That's it.
Yeah, Beat Saber. Do you know that they did like a poll and like women are way better than men are?
A million times
for some
better.
Reason?
The four major ones that I watched, because there are 4 different people, they were all young, like under 30, which is young to me, Asian women.
I get it.
And they were crazy good. My personal favorite was the girl that would just be like, she'd be like, Beat Saber, and then like behind her back, like she was hitting a lob shot.
Yes.
Just like, what are you doing? But yeah, Beat Saber is an amazing game. My main thing, though, is that you got to be real careful about vertigo in those games. Like when you're walking along and all of a sudden you're looking over the side of a big giant like precipice and holy
so
MacLeod.
I played on my girlfriend's PlayStation. She has Resident Evil 7.
Yes.
And it's a horror movie. Ugh. And it's right there in your face. And
I wouldn't be able to do it. How long did you last?
I'm a wuss.
I get scared out of my mind.
I've actually played the game and I played through it, but the first time I put it on through VR, it's a whole different experience.
It's totally different, especially, you know what's funny is the visuals might scare the crap out of you, but it's the audio that will make you like have a heart attack. Yes. So for anybody that's never experienced virtual reality, first of all, very difficult to explain because it's not what you're expecting. Like people describe it as very immersive and yes, that is the correct term, but it's more like, I don't know, virtual reality from 1996 that everybody's like, oh, virtual reality. That's exactly what you're in. You're literally in a horror game or in a horror movie. So you've got the headphones on and you can see around and it's like creepy enough as it is because everything's dark and gloomy and you can only see 10 feet ahead of you. Speaking of which, remind me about 10 feet ahead of you in a second. So, but then all of a sudden you hear chirp, chirp in this ear and then you hear chirp, chirp in this ear, but they're not chirps. They're some kind of animal, but you don't know the animal. And you're like looking around like, what is going on? And that alone is why I can't do it. I watch people play these games and I'm just listening in headphones. I'm like, I'm out. I'm done. Because I don't like the scary stuff. Like you're more into the scary stuff than I am.
Oh, I love it.
Right. Yeah. And so for you, the fact that the game itself is like, nope, not playing it. I find that humorous in the fact that like, I would think that you're the demo, like you're the graphic, you're the ones that people.
Oh, 100%. Because not to get back on our topic of Bethesda, the Tango Studios made one of my favorite horror games ever called Evil Within.
Oh,
and that dropped day one.
Yes.
And you're a detective, and it's totally like, I think the company is based in Japan, and you can tell because it's more like an anime style horror game.
Graphics themselves. Yep.
Right, yeah. And oh my gosh, you're in with all your worst nightmares. Like it is.
That's insane.
Like Leatherface chainsaws coming at you, and you have no weapons. You just have to like hide behind a box, and you have to stay there.
That brings up this. I'm sure you've seen it. The Geico commercial. Again, not sponsored by Geico. But they go. The commercial goes. So when you're in a horror movie, making bad decisions is what you do. And they're like, we could run to safety in the house or in the van or in the shack over there with a whole bunch of hanging chainsaws. And then they, of course, end up behind the hanging chainsaws. But that's exactly what I think
You never go in the van either. You don't go in the van because the van always never starts. And someone's in the back.
Yes.
I don't know why, but they just pop up in the back. And you see them through your rear view. If you never look in your rear view, they'll never get you.
Yes. You can't be harmed.
And
it's funny that you should say that. So you've never heard of this game. Let me see if I have a button for this. No, I don't think I do. But let me see if this button's close. Because we've created new buttons for the randomness of tick. Let's see. No.
But
Wow. Wow. What the heck?
Nope. None of those worked. Anyway, so what I was going to say is there was a game I used to play called Asylum. And it was a text-based moving game, meaning that you would say walk forward and you would move forward kind of thing. And it had graphics and stuff like that. But because they could not design the entire game, they made a game mechanic where anytime you looked up, a piano fell on you. So you'd be like in a room and you'd be like, I look up, a piano falls on you, you die. Like anywhere you were in the game, I look up, a piano falls on you, you die. And
that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Can we make a part 2 of that and we're Adrian Brody and it's the pianist? Can we please?
And you literally are playing on the way down?
Yes.
That's so funny.
Yes.
In virtual reality. I look up, the pianist falls on my head and die.
Yes.
The reason that I bring
His
up the
nose just gets you.
Oh, that's so mean. You're just mean. The reason that I bring up game mechanics limiting the way that a game is because Silent Hill, the original Silent Hill games, are 1,000 times creepier than any other game because they used fog and they could only render 10 feet ahead of you because of the actual system they built it on. So they couldn't render any farther. So even if you wanted to see what was in the distance, you couldn't. So it made the game infinitely creepier. They came out years later with a remix of the game that is considered one of the top 10 worst games of all times. They took Silent Hill and they remixed it. And whatever company produced it just did such a horrific job on it. Like just bad. Like bad. And because they took away that game mechanic that you could see farther than 10 feet ahead, wasn't scary anymore. And they just made tons of glitchy mistakes. Like they basically, I guess, whoever owned the property, I don't want to bash Konami, but I think that's who owned the property at the time or still does.
Yes.
Konami they basically just said, we don't care. We just put it out. Like our name will be on it. We'll make tons of money. So I just found that hilarious. Did we miss any other gaming stuff? What other gaming stuff do we have to cover? We've gone for a while.
I don't know. Let me look at my notes. I think we pretty much got it. And I know I've read that PlayStation is like, we don't know what to do. You guys are releasing games day one. Outriders. I've been playing Outriders. That's a brand new game.
Now you're talking about Xbox versus PlayStation, correct? And basically the fact that Xbox, stupid naming structure, whatever. I hate the name of their new system because it's so confusing. But the newest Xbox system and the PlayStation 5 have both come out within the last 6 to 8 months, correct?
Right.
Now, the thing is, though, you're saying that PlayStation doesn't have as many games as Xbox does.
So
am I following that correctly?
They do, but they don't. So PlayStation has a couple of their own studios, like Naughty Dog, which makes Uncharted, which is a huge franchise.
Yes, I've seen the franchise.
They don't have much other than that, so they're just waiting in like the shadows to be like, when are you guys done? Because Xbox seriously might inquire or buy out Sega, so they might have Sega too as like a game maker.
That's so funny.
And
that's so funny.
That's soon, and those are rumors, and it's like...
Well, I always find it funny because when Xbox originally came on the scene, everybody's like, why? Like, why is Microsoft spending any money? You have no chance. Like, that's literally what they said. And jump back 10 years or 5 years before that, because I forget the exact time frame, they said the exact same thing to PlayStation. Because PlayStation only exists because other companies made Sony mad. Like, if Sony hadn't gotten mad, they probably never would have brought out a system.
Right. Who still is the highest, most rated, most sold system? It's Nintendo.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Nintendo has always protected their intellectual property, meaning that they were able to keep people from pirating their games when pirating games was like the thing. Like, so Napster existed and the music industry had backlash. But imagine that Napster existed and Elektra, the record company Elektra, was like, you can't copy my stuff. Well, then Elektra still would be solid. You know what I mean? The reason that everything changed is because everybody's stuff could be copied. Nintendo's stuff has rarely been able to be pirated, ever. Whereas, like, I know tons of people that pirated tons of stuff on every other system, period. I mean, that's just the way it is. Right.
And I have a huge theory on why Nintendo is the best gaming system. It's parents.
And yes, because the games themselves are kid friendly. Is that?
You can't get on. There's no browsers on it. They don't even have Netflix on the Switch. You literally buy a game and you stick it in and you play it, or you can download, but you can't surf the internet. You can't do a lot of stuff that you can normally do, and it's safe.
Yeah, and I was going to say that goes back to the core model of Nintendo. The core model of Nintendo is fun family fun games, meaning that, like I said in, I think we talked about this in other shows, I had a Nintendo Wii when they very first came out because I really wanted to play Resident Evil with a gun. Like, I just had it in my head, and I was like, hey, I want to get the Wii controller and put it into a, like, plasticky gun, and I want to be shooting the zombies when they come at me. Because that's the kind of game that I always like when I go to the arcades and stuff. And I couldn't get a gun to save my life. They, like, literally, Nintendo sued every company. They didn't come out with their own, and they sued every company. So for the first 6 or 8 months, nobody had the ability to sell you a gun-style attachment for a Wiimote, period. And they had games that would have lent themselves to it, but
Call of Duty was on it.
Yeah, but they weren't promoting any of those games. In fact, they were doing the opposite. They were like, "Yeah, you don't want to play that game. You want some other game instead."
You know what's funny though about that? When Nintendo first came out, on one game, it was Duck Hunt. You got a gun.
Yes,
and it was Mario.
That is true.
You got a controller.
That's true. That's very true. But that was a holdover, I think, from their arcade cabinets. Meaning they owned the Duck Hunt game from the arcade, and the arcade had made so much money that they just ported it over. I think that as time went on, especially here in America, after Columbine and all of the mass shootings that we've had, I think Nintendo as a company looked at it and said, yeah, we don't want to be associated with that in any way, shape, or form. And you see, and if you were to look at like Duck Hunt versus Resident Evil, I mean, that most people wouldn't even consider them even in the same ballpark. You know,
how many times did you shoot the dog, though?
Right, exactly. But you see, the point is, though, that is kid-friendly, though, in the fact that you learn not to shoot the duck. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, it was Looney Tunes, basically.
That's true. It is. And, again, Looney Tunes has been censored as well, so...
Oh my God, wasn't that a long show? Please like and subscribe, and for those of you listening on the podcast, thank you. Until next time, this has been another episode of the TP Show.